welcome. Hey, what's going on? If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, and check in the comments for the information about some of the things we cut out of this video. All right, today we're talking about the only piece of data that matters, in my opinion. Okay, most important metric. Hey, I'm interested if you're watching this, whether on a replay or you're here live, what's your metric? What do you look at? I'm really interested to see what everybody else says. So I'm gonna wait for 10 or 15 seconds because I'm that far behind from where you're watching. Leave in the comments. I'm curious, what do you look at? What are some metrics that you check out whenever you're evaluating a county or putting together a mailer or any of that? And I'm not saying that I'm right by any means. I'm just sharing my perspective on how I do it, because there's a lot of people out in the land space that are doing things a little bit differently. And I don't know all the different methods. I don't know the validity of them all, but I do know mine works very well. So, so usability, Betty says usability. That's great. Action on Zillow is what Dan says. Both good ones. Those are good. Look, mine, I have a fundamental belief after doing this for as long as I have that people want to buy land. And it's been definitely elevated. It's been elevated due to COVID and where we are currently. People want to get out of the cities. So the demand for land is there. There's really one big thing that I look for. We got a couple good other ones in here. Rod says days on market. That's a good one. John says for sale versus amount sold on Zillow. For sale versus sold on Zillow. See the percentages. John says sales activity. John is right on the right track. Okay. When you're evaluating a mailer, the most important thing that I care about really is a metric that kind of includes a couple other ones. It's like the projected price per acre. All right. And here's why I think price per acre is such an important number. All right. Really, whenever I'm putting when I'm putting a mailer together, all I'm looking for is trends of price per acres. And I think everything that everybody said are great tick marks. They're great things to look for. I care about the price, right? I care about the price. I care about it for two reasons. One, people spend a lot of time that they don't need to on mailers. All right. The fundamental process or truth of how a mailer works is you find properties that you are interested in buying at a discount and you get in touch with the owners. That's it, right? So a lot of the things that people just said are, yeah, that's great. All those things are definitely important. You don't want to be in a slow county. You don't want to be in an area where there's way too much inventory on the market. You definitely want to be in an area of sales activity, but that kind of comes back to being able to determine price, right? Being able to determine price per acre. Price per acre starts with what's the price of the property. All right. So even to get to that, you're going to have to find comps, and that wraps up the sales activity check mark, which if you've ever heard me talk, sales is the biggest one. If there's sales in a market, if you can go and see a consistent amount of sales over the last 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months, 24 months, then I feel super confident that there's demand for land in that area. And that's as simple as it is. I don't go too much crazy deeper looking to verify every little checkbox, because when you're trying to scale this beast of a land business, you got to send more, you got to have more marketing, right? Everything comes down to the conversation in the land business. And so what I've found is that the big levers you got to pull are the ones that create more conversations with you or your team. And so personally, I look at price per acre. One, because there's generally always patterns. All right. There's generally always patterns. If you can get down and comp an area that you're working, and you can see, and you can pull a good amount of comps, call it 30, 50, 100 or more. And there's tools out there you can do that with. If you can do that, you can often start seeing that areas trend in the same-ish price per acre often, right? And it's not 100%, but if you're looking around, right, and you're looking on a map and you're saying, oh, there's that subdivision or there's this area or whatever, right? Generally, you'll see, like when people look at this on a county level, oftentimes they're like, whoa, I see a wide range of pricing, right? I see a wide range, $1,000 an acre over here, 20,000 over here, right? So, but when you get a little more narrow, normally you find pockets, you find trends. And when you look at price per acre, it takes into effect, hey, like what's the price, right? What's the price of land in this area? And then obviously you kind of boil it down by acreage and you get that number. But with price per acre, you oftentimes are going to see trends, right? Whereas if you're just looking at sales price or sales activity, you'll see dots, right? But one dot could be a mile from the other one. One could make you $1,000, one could make you $100,000. When you don't have the definition of price per acre, like how much are we making on these bad boys, then what kind of leads me to my second point is that you're not hitting your goals. And this is kind of my big shtick when I work with somebody or whenever I explain to them how you need to scale your business is you haven't mapped your goals out straight. You haven't put your goals down on paper, but even more, you haven't backtracked them. You haven't reverse engineered. What does it take realistically to get to where I want to go? Call it $200,000 a year, $1 million a year, whatever it is. What are the actual KPIs that I need to generate enough conversations, right? And one of the big things I see in that whole kind of big conglomerate of goal setting is people don't target the right kinds of property to grow their business, right? If you're stuck doing stuff that's $500 per acre and you're doing 1, 2, 5, 10, even 50, 40 acre properties at that size, there's not a ton of room for margin in there. So generally when I'm looking and I'm working out in the space, I'm looking for price per acres that are, a real sweet spot we find is like 1 to 3, 1 to 4,000, but even on up. So real quickly, if you're like, you can get a quick gauge on looking at your deals, what the price per acre value is on it. I can almost in a moment tell you kind of the trajectory and the path and how you're running that business. And the reason I say that is because if you're just doing small acreage, medium acreage, low price per acre properties, then oftentimes your books look like you spent a lot of money in land and you're selling them on terms, because generally properties that sell in that price range don't sell for cash that often because they're not that desirable. And so very quickly, I know that if you're focusing on those, unless you have another wing of your business that generates big lump sums of cash, then you're very likely, I call it a high interest savings account is what a good land terms deal is. You take money, you set it in there. Oftentimes you don't get it all back up front, at least how I run my business. Sometimes you do, but I'm all about volume. So, or not even volume, just moving things if the numbers line up. And so oftentimes if you're just doing low or medium dollar price per acre properties, then oftentimes that's the kind of business you're running. And I'm not saying that there's a problem with that. We added almost $10,000 in Q1 to our note portfolio. It's like 8,900 because I do a ton of terms deals, but those are mixed in conjunction with other deals that yield a lot larger cash payments, right? Probably, we had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash deposits to support, almost like a drug habit, to support that habit of, or that unit, that wing, that vertical of the business of buying terms deals. They're two different. And so if all you're doing is looking at lower price per acreage properties, then oftentimes that's where you're going to be stuck, is you're investing a lot of money. On paper, it looks really good. On the bank account, it doesn't. And it's a great long-term strategy. It's really great for consistent checks. But really, at the end of the day, you can't run the business with just that one vertical, in my opinion, unless you got $1 million in the bank or $500,000, however much you're going to invest. If all you're looking for are those massive deals, then or those tiny deals, rather, you're going to invest a massive amount of money, then that's generally what you see. So just a quick live today, but I challenge you, next time you do a mailer, take this tip. It could be $100,000 tip for you, right? Literally, if you just do this, it could be, look for trends, all right? Look for trends. If you see price per acreages, like how I would do it, if I was going to talk somebody through it, is I'd throw all this stuff into Excel and I'd put a little plot and a graph of maybe price per acre versus acreage and kind of see, or price per acre versus section, price per acre versus you name it. Okay. There's a lot of pieces of data in there, But oftentimes this is a good way that you can kind of, have a very repeatable process as far as putting mailers together. Find the pricing, find the sales, find the patterns, and put your mailers together. And you got to remember your mailers, right? Your mailers are not offers. You spend time on putting an offer together. You don't spend a lot of time on putting a piece of marketing together. You spend time on the piece of marketing, but it's so that you can send it out to a bunch of people. Okay. If you're stuck in your business staring at maps all day, you're doing it wrong. Okay. You're caring way too much about the piece of data. You got to look bigger. You got to look at large areas, more data points, and you got to find trends. I find my trends with the price per acreage, and gave you some tips there. Use that next time you put your mailer together. It'll help you get more targeted pricing. It'll help you know where you should send a blind offer or a range offer or a neutral letter. Hey, I don't care what program you came from. I don't care how you learned this business. Those are all tactics, right? You got to know when to use them. So anyway, price per acreage, that's my favorite metric. That's pretty much all I really look at once I've verified that there's sales in an area and I want to buy land there. And so there you go. Use that in your studies, but look for trends. Trends are where it's all at. Okay. Thanks folks for coming. If you're watching on a replay, leave a replay. Leave whatever question I asked earlier, which was, what do you look at whenever you are putting a mailer together? I'll be on Clubhouse in about 40 minutes. We will get the links out here. I don't know if we got them in here. So I will post the links in this group afterwards. Thanks for coming. If you're watching the replay, leave a comment. Appreciate it. You guys have a great week. And we'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye.